Oh. All right. Took a second today. All right. Today was one of those days for me where I was just out of it. Didn't feel like working at all. I was tired. Just felt like blah. I really had to push through today. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about today, but it just felt like I just didn't want to do anything. So I powered through. Wasn't fun. Trace Simpkins, what's going on? Love from Tampa. Sam, I appreciate you. Content Vibes, what up, legend? How do I run a skate shop? From Alex. I've never ran a skate shop. A skate shop, I think, is like one of the hardest things to run. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't have anything for you. Other than, look, I guess we could actually give some good feedback here. No matter what you do, whether it's a skate shop, you're selling apparel, whatever it is, you have to figure out how to get people to know who you are. That is one of the hardest things in the beginning, is you can have a great product, you can have a great service. If no one knows who you are, they're not buying anything from you. You don't even have the chance. So I would say in the beginning, you want to put a lot of energy towards marketing. I have some off markets in SD. Would love to work with you. Isaiah, if it's multifamily and it's some type of development project, we're in. If it's anything other than multifamily, or it's any existing project, existing like stabilized or even value add, not for us right now. Let me know though. Rafi, what's up, my man? I might first. Tracy Legend. Lock of Dots, what's going on? Jay Trippa, I feel like that right now. I'm still at work. Yeah, I'm sluggish today. I definitely had to like force it. It happens, but I like it better when it's just go time. I've been a fan for years from Canada. Ben Crocker, appreciate you. How should I invest $3,000 as a teenager? Jack, I would say as a teenager, I would probably look at ways to invest in yourself. I would say that's probably the best use of that capital. Like, what's something that you are good at that you can invest into to improve upon, or what's a new skill that you can learn that you might invest in a class or a course or whatever path you go towards learning the skill, do that. And then go monetize it. That's always the best return. Skating on thin ice, I feel it. Are you sad? Grayson, no, I'm not sad. I'm just tired. I'm like just heavy today for some reason. I don't know. I woke up like struggle bus all day. I don't know. I'm not sure why. Some days, I guess. Mike, if you were to buy a duplex in San Diego and tear it down to build a 4 to 8 story apartment, what's the lowest square footage you would take? That's a good question. It totally depends. That's a good question. Valentino, I'll tell you what. Will you email Tawny, Tawny, at communecapital.com? I'll have her send you as close to like certain parameters of what we're looking for. And then if you have something, let's get connected. Hello from Fatburger. Fatburger 1000 Hooks. What's up, guys? Hey, Mikey, I think capitalism is terrible and it's failing us. Eric, give me more. Why do you think it's terrible? And what do you think is a better system? And look, I'm told like you and I both can point at things that are wrong with it or things that we're struggling with. That I'm all for. But what's a system that you think is better than capitalism? Drew, Roth IRA. How many people now know you from skateboarding versus investing? JD Moore. Yeah, that's a crazy one. I would say, gosh, it's probably getting close to 50-50. I bet. Actually, you know what? Now that I think of it, no, it's probably Offset. Okay, so when I was skateboarding, my largest platform was, I think, Instagram. Instagram, I remember it, 525,000 followers on Instagram when everything ended. And then I remember from that point, it was like 524, 523. I started losing followers. And then I had a moment where I started growing, but I was losing at basically the same rate. I was like at a standstill where net I'd be at like 0. And then all of a sudden I started growing again. And so if Instagram was my largest at 525, from that point, my TikTok has almost 700,000 followers. No one on there it knows me from skating, or at least I launched that thing, no skateboarding and post skateboarding. And then on Instagram, I'm at 850,000 followers. So I may be at a point where I have more people that know who I am, not as a skater, than prior, which is wild to think about. When's the last time you hit a baddie? Well, I've been married a long, long time. Copyright is good skill to monetize. Copyright's a good skill to monetize for now. I think that's going to be one that's probably going to be harder to do with just, AI, but for right now, there's an opportunity for that. I've got $75K from a liquidated retirement account. What to do? Age 34, 3 kids. All right, Nindev. Basically, what I try to think of when I'm making investments, I typically start with investing in myself. That's the first thing I usually look for. What can I invest in that's going to give me more earning potential? From there, I typically try to separate short-term and long-term goals. So short-term is anything you're going to want or are targeting to invest in within the next 5 years. That's all short-term. Long-term is like retirement money. If it's short-term, which for most people, I think the obvious short-term is like buying a house. If it's short-term, don't invest that money. Put that money in like a high-yield savings account. If it's long-term, I still think like a Roth IRA is a solid one. A 401k, if you have an employer match, that's a 100% guaranteed return, which is amazing if you invest up to the match. Other than that, I think it just comes down to a few factors. What are your goals, right? Even on the long-term goals, what point are you trying to retire? What's your risk tolerance? So make sure what you're investing in matches your risk tolerance. And then be mindful of liquidity, right? Like if you invest in the stock market and you need money, you can sell. Like it might not be the best time to sell, but you can. Something like real estate, you don't have that option. It's an illiquid investment. So I would say those are a couple things that you should be thinking about. How can I get 30 minutes of your time in person? G Machine, we call her the Wall. Tawny is known as the Wall. You can email Tawny, TAWNY at communecapital.com. Everything goes to her first. And so you can reach out to her. She'll let you know basically if I have availability and when that would happen or if it could. So that's the Wall. That's the one you got to go through. Completely normal to have off days. You don't need a reason. Yeah, you know what, Nick? I had this conversation with my wife like maybe a few months ago. I had a few months ago where I felt like so unproductive. Like tried to just force it at work. Just got home and I looked at my wife. I'm like, I was like useless today. Like I tried, just nothing. And she was like, yeah, it's totally normal to have those days, And I know that, like, even when I was skating, there was days where it was just off. Like, my point of view with it is you're going to have days where everything's just firing. You're going to have days where you're struggling, and then everything in the middle. And then even from like a motivation standpoint, like it's not necessarily that I'm lacking motivation today. It's like energy feels low, brain feels fogged out, like just not a lot of spark there. But I remember thinking this back when I was skating, I think the most important days are the days that you don't feel like doing it. and forcing that out of you, right? Like if we're only doing things when we feel like it, I don't think that gives you any room to stand out. So I am a believer in like pushing it. Just today I had to push it. I really had to push it. But I agree with you. Some days are just off. That's normal. Do you think this is a good time to invest in a home? Motivated mindset. Okay. My view on home ownership. Well, I'll answer your question. This is how I look at it. If I'm willing to live in that house for let's call it 10 years, I don't think there's a bad time. I think you can buy whenever, considering you can afford it, go get it. Being in a place for 10 years, it puts you in a position where you can kind of get through usually any type of downturn. Where you start having a hard time is when, maybe the expectation with home ownership is going to be like the last 3 years, where it was like appreciated by 10%, appreciated by 25%, appreciated by 10%. If you're expecting that, there's a very, very good chance that doesn't happen. And so you might not be able to sell your house in 3 years. You might not be able to do the typical appreciate, sell in 5 or 6 into a bigger house, etc. So if you're okay being in a house for 10 years, I think it's fine to buy it whenever. The investing in a home, this is one that I learned the hard way. So growing up, I was basically always taught that owning a home is like, it's the American dream. It's, the best investment you can make. Even when I started making a little money skating, like everyone around me was like, save to buy a house. Like that was the holy grail. And so I bought a house and my expectations were wildly off. Like right when I did it, I was like, best investment, just did it. And I really struggled with it for a couple reasons. One, I bought 2.5 years later, financial crisis. My house is underwater like $200K. That was one. Two, I had to hold the investment for 15 years to break even. That didn't feel like a good investment. Anytime, then I eventually got married, and anytime my wife wanted to basically put money into the house, maybe, renovate something, build out the backyard, do a new kitchen, floors, whatever the reason, I struggled with it, right? Like I would basically ask her, like, why don't you create a budget for it? I'd look at the number, look at what I thought we could sell it for. And my first thought was, I will never get that money out. This is a terrible investment. I will never see a return on it. And that created a lot of challenge. It created a lot of challenge for my relationship with my wife, and I think actually kind of hurt the experience that we could have had in our home if we would have done those things. And so I would say what I've learned over the last 20 years, I don't view my home as an investment anymore at all. I view my home as a home. I think there's a lot of great reasons to own a home, but I don't look at it as an investment anymore. It doesn't mean it can't appreciate. It doesn't mean you can't make money, but that's kind of what I've learned. Like looking at it as a house, basically I stopped going through like, looking for ROI on dollars instead of just going, yeah, this is where we live. This is our experience. We love being here. There's value in that. Let's put some money into it. And I think my wife and I would have had way less challenges if I would have understood that when I was young. So that's how I look at it now. So I would like to invest with you in the near future, but I'm not an accredited investor, but I've heard there's another way you can pull non-accredited investors in. Would you be interested in that? Trey Simpkins. Okay, so right now you're right. We can only have accredited investors, which is an SEC thing. If it were up to me, every single person would be able to do this with me. I was hoping to have an offering up right now or by the end of this year that would allow anyone to come in. It looks like it's getting pushed. It's not for sure, but it looks like it. Basically, when we launch the offering, we have to bring on a couple people that we don't need right now. And the people that we would bring on, it's going to be a pretty big expense to the company. We probably need to consider, I don't know, 3, 4, almost $500,000 in new salary that we don't need now. And this is the hard part about it. There's an opportunity right now in real estate that I'm not convinced that we're going to see again. It's a moment that I want to basically put all of my energy towards capturing, and because of that, I think it's going to push the Reg A back potentially. So that's a long way of saying there's going to be a point where there's always been a goal of mine to get to a point where anyone can invest. I was hoping it was going to be this year. It may be next year. All right, let's see. I'll get current on questions. Charlotte, NC, tap in, son. Everybody's tapped into NC. Thanks for being real and giving back. Love that you stay true to your roots, coming from a skater and sharing your knowledge and experiences. Brad, appreciate you, legend. You know what? I really do appreciate that. Mikey, what are the 3 best investments when you start having kids? Drew, really good question. The 3 best investments when you start having kids. Oh, that's a good question. I would say investing in your financial education is going to be phenomenal when having kids. I would say the biggest lesson I've learned from being a parent is that things are caught, not taught, right? Our kids watch what we do. They don't listen. And the reason why I say that is when it comes to money, right? How you manage money and what your kids see and their view of money is going to make or break them. And so I think it's really important for us as parents to be educated with money and manage it accordingly, right? If we get super emotional with money and we idolize it and treat it like a god and make our whole world about it, or love it or fear it, or however your view is, it's going to get passed down to your kids. And from what I've seen, there's nothing more crippling when it comes to finance than creating an emotional charge and an emotional fear to money. We're gonna set our kids up for failure if that's what we show them. And I would say, honestly, even thinking back with my parents, like my parents never really like sat me down and went, this is what a stock is. This is what a bond is. This is how to build credit. This is how to underwrite. I didn't get any of that from my parents. But what I did get was a view of my parents being very emotionally stable, right? So like, I don't know, one example of that would be if I would come home and, my parents were going over the budget, or if like my mom got like a speeding ticket, or she got a ticket, right? I would have come home. I wouldn't see my dad freak out and lose it. We don't have enough money for this. None of that. He was very like mellow and even keel and okay. And we planned for this, et cetera, et cetera. And like my dad didn't make like crazy money. So what I saw was a very healthy way of managing money, even though they didn't sit me and teach me every single component of it. I think that was such a gift that was given to me. So I would say invest in your financial education and get really good at your relationship with money, the emotional side of money. That's going to be a huge blessing to the kids. Other investments, when it comes to having kids, I don't know. I think, I don't know. For me, like my view on the kids, like let me think about how I want to say this, because there's a new concern I have now that I didn't have 15 years ago. I want to teach my kids. I don't want to, I am not building companies and trying to build wealth to give to my kids. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to like give them the life I never had. I'm more concerned when that's your goal, that you're actually putting your kid's future in a worse position by doing that. I do not want my kids to be entitled. I want my kids to have a strong work ethic. I don't want them to think that money is anything more or less than a tool. And so, I don't know if I'm looking at investments, at least for them, through that lens. I'm looking at investments through the lens of how do I give them a strong work ethic? How do I teach them about investing? How do I give them the tools that they can then go out and use however they want without giving them this like golden parachute? So I think with all that said, I think the best investments are going to be us investing in ourselves, giving ourselves the right tools to pass on to our kids. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like, do you think we should be giving everything down to our kids? Do you think we should be making life easy for them? Like, I heard something a long time ago, and this is what I actually really liked, that kids that have the best upbringing come from parents who are good parents that teach them skills that don't have money, right? It's like coming up in like an environment where money is not abundant, but the kids see like a very healthy relationship and are passed down tools. That's the best scenario. What do you guys think about that? Yo, Mikey, I just got a raise and am full-time in the medical field. Finally have some extra money to invest. Heck yeah. Was thinking of stocks, specifically the silicon field for technology. Any thoughts? Weird Glass, that's so awesome. I would say yes, like having money to invest is awesome. Investing in tech, I think, is a great field. Gosh, as I was about to say this, I was thinking about a conversation I had yesterday on diversification. So I was playing golf with some friends yesterday. One of them's a CPA. We were talking about diversification. And he was saying, how important he thinks diversification is, which I think it is as well. I 100% think it is as well. But it's interesting because like Warren Buffett doesn't think that. Like he thinks diversification is puts you in a position where it makes it harder to build wealth, which I agree with him on. But it protects you in situations where things go wrong. With tech, I think the tech industry, you've got a lot of opportunity for growth. Depending on what you're investing in, but tech moves quick, and I think in some areas there's potential more risk depending on what you're investing in. But no, I think tech is it's the future. You're investing in the future, which I think is epic. Mikey, I'm a black belt at SEO, and I can fakey big inward heel. Have a position for me? That is epic. What if that was a qualification for our company? Like you have to be able to like at least kickflip. That'd be so awesome. SEO is something like, dude, yeah, SEO is something we could use for sure. I love that. JD, I appreciate you, legend. All right, what do you guys think the best way to raise our kids is? I mean, how were you guys raised? Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. How do you view money? Do you get emotional with money? I got the wall calling me. Should we see what she's saying? Hey, I'm on a live and I just put you on speaker. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, what's up?
I was wondering if I was interrupting a brainstorm because I see a content block from 1 to 4. I didn't know you were on a live.
I went on a live about 30 minutes ago. I'm giving your email out like crazy. I'm sorry. And I just got somebody, okay, I'll email Tawny and send the skate clip. Tawny's on the line right now. Tawny, it looks like you're getting an email with a skate clip and let me find his name. From Eric, and he focuses on SEO.
All right.
What's up, guys?
Hi, guys.
So there's going to be some emails coming your way. Everybody's starting to know that you're the wall, so I think that's good.
Did that podcast, did you ever, it fully come out?
The podcast
You only sent me one clip.
I'll send you the link when I get off this.
Nice.
All right, can you inspire the people at all? What can we say to the people?
You don't party?
Heavy. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Are you working? Are you in the office tomorrow?
I had a real question.
Oh, what's up?
I had a question about your Colorado event in September.
Okay.
So when you're done with your live, I want to go over the details of that.
Okay.
And need some specific answers to some questions.
Sounds good.
So when you're done, call me.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
All right. Mikey Days. Are things going to go wrong in the stock market soon? Yes, of course. But that's how it goes. The stock market I mean, real estate does this as well. It's cyclical. It all happens over and over again. Are we going to see? It's the when. It's not the if, right? The stock market's going to correct 1,000%. When? I don't know. What do you guys? I mean, what do you guys feel? I don't want to say that because how we feel doesn't mean it's reality, but how do you guys feel the economy is doing? I would say if you're looking at the data, right, you're starting to see a little bit of increase in unemployment. You're seeing debt pull back. You're seeing sales or what some of these companies forecasted starting to slow down. What do you guys think is going on? And do you guys think that an upcoming election has anything to do with the economy or with the stock market? There's a part of this that's so interesting. Like when I wasn't around in the 70s, but when inflation hit the way it did, and I always heard about, because my parents would always say, "Oh, you guys haven't seen high interest rates. Like we were paying double-digit interest rates," and they'd talk about how crazy inflation was. And when you kind of do a deep dive on that and see kind of some of the scenarios that were at play, and the presidential election coming up, and them wanting to be mindful, it was Nixon, right? Wanting to be mindful that if they freaking kill inflation, that means the economy is going to get smashed. And I think if not one of the largest reasons why people vote is how the economy is doing. This is something that we're actually feeling. So what they had happen is they were slow with inflation. They did a little bit, started coming down a little. They opened it up again. Inflation ramped up, and then that's when Volcker came in. Reagan was Reagan administration, right? When Volcker came in, just smashed it, but it was painful. That's the thing. Like doing something like bringing inflation down like all the way is painful. Budget cuts is painful. Like when we start talking about like Social Security and some of these programs we have that we already know are not sustainable, you're talking about a painful scenario to figure all that out. And I don't think most people want that. I don't think most people vote for it. So I don't know. We'll see. California sucks. Why people are moving out other states? I'll answer that one in a sec. I see the stock market is steady. Yeah, it's not moving yet. I feel the stock market is bad to invest, but real estate is way better than anything. Tricky time. Honestly, don't know how to invest at the moment. Okay, so what I'll say is, from an investment standpoint, I have never tried to time the market ever. I've always followed a system, and in that system, I want to invest every single month, and I try to hit that date, hit that target over and over and over. When times are good and when times are bad. And that's always done really, really well for me. So I think it's more about consistency than timing. The California, I think there's two major things going on right now. There's the affordability aspect. I think people are leaving because they can't afford it. And then there's politics, which I think actually the affordability is an outcome of the politics. But yeah, there's people leaving because of one or both of those reasons. But California, I think California is the best state. We get something very special here. Like you don't get weather like this. If you think it's just the weather, seriously though, the weather here is phenomenal. You have a lot of industry going on. You have a really large economy. It's expensive though. 100% give you that. A lot of the policies in this state are ridiculous. Like a lot of the policies make no sense. A lot of the policies make it more expensive to do business here, to live here. I'm with you on all that. But the way I look at it, my friends and family are here. This is my home. I'm born and raised here. The policy, it's interesting. The policy that drives people out is actually our thesis on why we're investing here. It's very strange. It's like everything California does, Well, there's a couple things at play. One, we don't build. Like, it is so difficult to build here, and a lot of it is because of policy. Policy makes it so difficult to build here is one factor on why it's so difficult to build here, that we're slow to build. And so we just don't keep up with population growth and haven't over the last 14 years or so. Let me be exact on this one. Yeah, let's call it 12 years. And so we're undersupplied. And then everything the state does to make it more expensive and take longer, all that does is keep competition out. And right now you want competition. You want as many people here investing and building to try to catch the demand. And because we don't, they just keep driving prices up. And so it's a thesis that we're like going hard on. 100% agree about responsibly educating children about money. Pivot any advice for someone trained as an architect looking at a possible shift to development. California, I don't think stocks, more cryptocurrencies. Okay, I got a little bit in crypto, not a lot, real little. Nvidia up 30. Yeah, that the CPA I was playing with yesterday, he was talking about his two greatest investments in the last decade, Tesla and Nvidia. Yo, sup, Mike? Damn it, almost missed the pod. My man, we're getting there. The pod's coming. We're getting there. We are getting there. Why my brother left California and is in Idaho now. So, Eric, Tawny at Commune, you got it. So Idaho, look, this is the normal cycle. I think Idaho is a perfect example. You have a mass amount of people that leave California. 2021, 2022, right? We had a net migration loss of 500,000 people. And I think all of that was because of policy. I think the lockdowns, and I think people left because of that. They went to Idaho. Idaho had such a gnarly population growth that they didn't have the supply to match the amount of people looking. So all of a sudden, real estate went up, right? And then what do you see? You see building like crazy because you can get projects online fast there. So everybody's a builder now. And my perspective, what's going to happen in Idaho, which is the normal cycle, is they're going to overdevelop. This is what builders do. Builders overdevelop. Their job is to build, and they build too much. And then at that point, they start seeing vacancy increase. And when vacancy increases, you start seeing prices come down. You start seeing rents come down. When rents come down, that brings prices down as well. That's the normal cycle of correction, right? And so I think the obvious one, and what people kind of mention to me is like, yeah, but with all the people leaving California, that's going to crash the real estate. Here's the problem. California is undersupplied by 2 million units, right? We're short by 2 million units. The governor is Newsom is basically on this thing where he wants to hit 3.5 million new residential units by 2025, right? That's 2.5 years. California has averaged over the last 10 years, 104,000 units per year. That's how much we put on, 104,000 per year. That means it's going to take us almost 10 years, if we're following history, to get to that first million. If you look at the timeline, right? We don't change anything. We don't hit those goals like 2089. It's like ridiculous, right? So the question is, are enough people leaving that's going to offset how far below we are? No, I don't see it happening. I really don't. And I'm waiting to see the numbers for 2023 because what I keep hearing is actually you're starting to see, I don't know if we're going to be at a positive growth. I'm not saying that, but I'm not going to be surprised if that number gets smaller and smaller because I keep hearing about people, which sounds like at scale, moving to Texas or Florida or any of these places. They're now moving back to California. Let's see if that's true. But then again, I keep hearing about new lockdowns, and if the state goes through that again, then I'm not expecting that number to be positive for us. Will this live be recorded and posted somewhere? Great info, and would love to watch what I missed earlier. Brad Harris, yeah, everything goes basically, go to my YouTube. It's just Mikey Taylor. All my lives are stored on that YouTube, so you can go back and watch it. What are we doing over here? All right, what are we doing? We're talking business. We're talking investing. We're talking the economy. Talking a little bit about politics. Not much, but a little bit. We're talking about state politics. If you are a first-time home buyer looking to purchase a piece of property in the next 3 years, somewhere in California, what type of property would you invest in and where? Well, if I wanted to buy a home or if I wanted to buy real estate as a first-time home buyer, well, okay, I'm going to give you a couple options. If it were me and I could do this all over again, you guys have heard me talk about this. I would not have bought my house. I was 22 years old. I would have skipped buying that house. And I would have went after a duplex, triplex, or quad. Knowing what I know now, I would have went after a quad. And I would have lived in one of the units. I would have done the FHA loan. I would have lived in it for a year. I would have gotten to as close to my rent covered as possible. But even if I had to cover rent myself, who cares? And then I would basically, after that year, I'd be out of there, put somebody in. Now I have a cash flowing asset. If I could do that, I would do that. If I could go back, that's what I would do. I would house hack. If I wasn't going to do that, I was going to basically buy a primary. I would pick a location that I wanted to live in. Somewhere that was safe, that was clean. I wouldn't want to live somewhere with, I'd want to live well, I guess it depends on what age you are, right? Like, like when I bought a house, I bought it with the future in mind. So like, I didn't care so much about like being in the scene or, being close to where all these things were happening. I wanted to be in the suburbs. So that's where I moved. You might have to pick that based on what you're looking for. But other than that, I would just look at what you can afford, right? Like if you can't afford a home, like look at a townhouse, look at a condo, just find something that you can get into, or if you're willing to wait, stretch out the timeline. And instead of 3, maybe it's 5. I emailed Tawny my resume, slate clip, and a bit of a cover letter. Eric, legend. I already prepped her. She knows it's coming. A lot of people hate that guy Newsom. I don't like him. I live here. I'm not a fan of him personally. From everyone I know that's met him, everyone says has a ton of charisma and he's super cool in person. But his policies and how he governs, I'm not a fan. I think our state has really, really struggled. But that's just me. SB 9 was supposed to help expedite building, but yeah, you know what? I think from a build standpoint, the state's doing some stuff. You're starting to see some of the steps they're making that can help. But how I think this thing gets solved, you got to deregulate. You got to open this thing wide open. You gotta bring every single investor. Like, okay, here's what you have to do. When we talk about investing in California, right? The normal experience when we're talking to investors, I would say 70% at first. They go, wait, you invest in California? 70% think we're crazy off the go. And then we basically break down our thesis. And you start seeing them go, holy crap. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. But you will have a percentage that's just a hard no always, right? How California gets solved is 100% of the people that would never invest in California pivot and go, I'm investing in California. It is go time in California. When that happens, the housing issue will get solved. But it's not, right? Right now, California scares investors out. And all that does is makes those who own real estate wealthier, and it makes those who are renting challenged. It makes rents more expensive. People who want to buy houses, makes it harder for them. So that's what I think. Hey, Mikey, I know you mostly as a skater, but following your content now, I'm a startup and revenue growth consultant. Do you have any color or input on consumer-facing fintech? Nick, Nicholas Ramsey, thanks for being here, my man. I like the fintech space a lot. I really do. I was working with a company called Unest for a while. It still is. It's a fintech platform that helps basically parents invest for their kids' future with a UTMA, right? 529 and UTMA. And the interface is sick. They've gamified it. It's super cool. From what I know from working with them, fintech has a great multiple. There's a lot of buyers when it comes to fintech. From me speaking just based on content creation, there are a lot of people looking for good products that are easy to use in almost all categories, right? Budgeting, I think there's a huge opportunity with budgeting. Like I use mint.com. There's so many flaws with it. I think, some type of budgeting app would be massive. Some of the investing platforms are, I think pretty good. But I think there's such a need for it. And I think the new generation, I think really like, Gen Z is who you're hitting. Like build something easy and fun and gamify it and you're going to crush it. And then I think millennials aren't that far off from jumping on. But I think the fintech space is awesome. So what do you think about the people only in SSI? I have it. What is that? I'm not tracking on that one. Mike, I want to begin investing, but I don't have anyone to help guide me along the way other than online resources. And there's so many different opinions out there. How do I start? The Ice Meister. Okay, so you have a couple options. If you want help, look, I think robo-advisors are pretty solid. Like they're really cheap and you can build out kind of a strategy for you and they'll help you put dollars on where they're supposed to go and they'll rebalance your portfolio. I think that's actually a pretty good option. You always have the option of a financial advisor. When it comes to online information, this is my view with it. Sorry, I saw a comment. It just made me laugh. I would start by educating yourself with a lot of the foundational principles, right? Like for me, the books that really helped me, Richest Man in Babylon was phenomenal. I like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think it was just a kind of a gateway drug in the sense of after reading it, I just wanted to know more and more. The Intelligent Investor is really good. Money Master the Game. Like educate yourself so that you kind of have a foundation. And then when you look at people online, because there's a lot of opinions and not all the information is good out there, you can then listen to it, but not take it as truth. Just take it at face value. And then you'll have the tools to kind of do your own deep dive to find out if that's what you want to do. But I would say robo-advisors and a financial advisor is a good option. But you know what? There's like Warren Buffett, there's people out there that give like such good advice and it's very basic and easy to follow, right? Warren Buffett. If you don't know what to invest in a low-cost index fund or ETF, right? Find an ETF that tracks the index, put your money in there. That's his advice. I think it's actually solid. This is from Nick. Dude, your knowledge base is blowing me away. You know what, Nick? It's funny. I get this. It's almost become like I call it a strategic advantage. I do a lot of speaking events now. And like I've gotten to the point now I've spoken in front of, I think my largest audience was 7,000 people. And I just did one a couple months ago. I spoke in front of about 2,500 people. And I think because one, I'm typically introduced as pro skateboarder, retired pro skateboarder, and then like entrepreneur and blah, 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 blah. And I think when most people hear skateboarder, they just have this perception that skaters are dumb and useless and know nothing. And I think that sets the bar so low for me that, anything above that bar blows people away. And, and on top of that, it's like, I started doing this when I was 19. Like, that's 22 years now of investing. And in that, I wasn't actively doing it the whole time. In the beginning, I had guidance. I had an advisor that was spending time with me. He was helping me invest. I didn't really know why we were investing in the things that we were investing in the beginning, but he was working with me about creating my budget and building credit. And then he started working with me on risk tolerance and started talking about tax incentive, all this cool stuff. When I started my first business, that's when everything changed for me. And the reason why I think it opened, let's say it this way. The reason why starting my first business was such a big education moment for me was because we didn't have enough money to start the business ourselves. That was huge. We had to go out and raise money. And because we had to raise money, myself, Josh, and Paul, we learned so much through that process about investing because we had to go pitch our investment to investors. And, it's only a matter of time where you start noticing the reoccurring questions that investors are asking you. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, like I'm getting all this experience just trying to get investors to give me money. And then it kind of changed the game for me. And that was my first business we started 12 years ago. And so I've just had a lot of time now doing this. And then after skateboarding, this is all I do. This is the same obsession that I went into skateboarding with. I have with Commune. It's the same type of energy. It's all I can think about. I get here, I can't wait to work. Fridays, I'm like, I want more time. I'm all in on this one. And so I think just that type of energy, I've just learned a lot along the way. Ray Dalio Principles, super good book, phenomenal book. It's a really, really good book. The life principles, I actually enjoyed more than the business stuff, but he's phenomenal. Yep, deregulation is going to be the key to cutting all the red tape. I work as a civil engineer and have seen some of the impacts on development. I want to get involved with Commune in some way. I appreciate you. I think so as well. We'd love to have you involved. The internet, do the research. You hire an advisor if you're thinking of investing a large amount, 100%. The SSI ID by the government, you get, got it. Mikey, how important is a mentorship in real estate investing? I think it's huge. I think it's amazing. Look, anytime I've ever tried to do something new, the first thing I do is try to put myself around people that have already done it. When I started Commune, before I started Commune, when I had the idea to start Commune, I was reaching out to every real estate investor I knew, calling them, and doing anything I could to get in front of them. Like a lot of people was like, hey, can I pick your brain? I wasn't trying to pick your brain. I was like, hey, dude, let's go grab dinner. Hey, let's go golf. Like I was just trying to do something that would be fun. And I just want to basically ask them questions. The questions I was asking, how did you start it? What are the biggest risks that you've seen along the way? Where do you see new people go wrong? If you could go back, what would you change? I was trying to get as much information from as many different people as possible that have done it. The path I took, I brought people in who had the experience. So I guess you could call that I had mentors even when starting Commune. But no, I think that's huge. Go spend time around people doing the things you want to do. You're going to learn at such a fast rate. And I think the return is invaluable. I think it's a big one. One a top dog, my man. I remember seeing you skate a demo in Frederick, Maryland for either DVS or Girl back in the day. Dang, we're going back. I don't even remember that. That's crazy. I don't remember being in Maryland. All right. All right, let's see. Try to get some questions. You know what? I'm totally abandoning YouTube. That's my bad. Let's see if we have any questions on YouTube. I got some good questions. I did a story. I'm going to do some content on Friday asking people if they had any financial questions. Let's see if I can go through any right now. And maybe I'll give you guys a quick peek. Let's see. Oh, all right. I want to get into development. Should I have someone write a business plan for me? Yes, 100%. I think, look, doing a business plan, I've done one for every business that I've started, and I hate it every time. And after I've done it, I'm so thankful I did it. The blessing about a business plan, it's not that like you're going to follow the business plan to a T. Honestly, you're not. But what it forces you to do is kind of really figure out your concepts and actually create a pathway towards it. And what I end up after a business plan is typically a lot different than what I started with. And so I would 100% do it. And how I would do it, I would build your business plan with an investor in mind. So build it as if you need to present your business plan to an investor who you want money from. That I think is going to be massive for you. It could be only because it's been massive for me. I asked for the viewers. I am under membership with Tarek. I'm learning so much and love it. Thanks so much. Yeah, Tarek or Tarek. I've probably called him his wrong name to his face too many times. I really like him. He's such a cool guy. Yeah, I think it's awesome. I 100% do. Yeah. No one with the means to leave California stays there and gives financial advice and expects to be taken serious. The Brandon, that's actually not true at all. If we're being honest, the people that leave California are the middle class. They're not the wealthy and they're not the poor. I'm not saying that's how it should be. It's not. But if you're trying to make the argument that wealthy people leave California, you're just completely wrong. The wealthy are everywhere here. It's the middle class that's getting gutted, and that's the problem. But to make the argument that anyone that's financially savvy is abandoning California, you're tripping. You're all the way tripping. Now, what I'll give you is, I have a lot of friends that have two houses. I have a lot of friends that are back and forth a lot. But I can think of, I'll tell you right now, out of just my network of friends here, I have easily 35 friends that are worth north of $100 million. They're in California 24/7. Have businesses here, work here, live here. I have a lot of friends that make a lot of money still in California, zero desire to leave. I do have friends that ended up getting homes elsewhere and are doing like 6 months, 6.5 months there, 5.5 back. I do have those, but honestly, big dog, it's the middle class. That's the challenge. So what do you think about the people who I've seen buy lottery tickets? What do you think about that, good or bad? Sap Travis, I will never buy a lottery ticket unless it's the last time I bought a lottery ticket was for Mikey Days, and it was for just content with Mike Mo. I think we bought with Deer Dick too. The lottery is a losing proposition. It's a waste of money. The thing that's crazy, I did a video a long time ago. I should do this video again on the percentage of lottery winners that go broke and the percentage of lottery winners that commit suicide. The numbers are astronomical. I don't want to quote them because I've got to go back. I can't remember what they were, but they were crazy high numbers. And so I think it's better, in my perspective, I think it's better to have the tools to go out and earn it, because I think you then have the tools to keep it. I think it's unfortunate. Like, you see lottery winners, and it's almost like their goal is to go broke because they don't want to deal with everything, every nightmare it's created. What do you think is the best thing to do with your first 10K, considering being young? Okay, the very first thing that I think you should do is look for ways to invest in yourself. I would look for a skill that you can either learn or improve upon that you can go and monetize. That's where I would start. What I would follow with, I'd have some money saved for an emergency. What the typical goal is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. And then on top of that, you're looking at short-term, long-term goals. But I would start with investing in yourself. I think that will always be your greatest return. Have you thought about putting a book together? I'm so pumped to see you doing this content, Gary Vee style. You know what? Yes, I've gone down the path a little bit over the last few years. And I had a couple people approach me that were like ghostwriters. They were like, look, I'll just meet with you and we'll write the book. I know I'm going to do one. I don't know when is that's the variable. I don't know. Part of me feels like I haven't done enough yet to write it, but no, I probably will. I don't know. Let's call it the next 5 years. I know Dyrdek's writing a book right now. And the amount of time he's putting towards that book is significant. I mean, he's blocked off a lot of time to do it. I don't have that time available yet. I'm in a head down and a little bit of an off balance cycle right now. We're going after what's happening in the real estate industry. I think this is one of those moments that's not going to last. And I don't want to miss it. I want to grab up as much of it as possible. So maybe the book will come after that. At a young age, it feels like a good amount. Well, maybe we got something. You know what I did want to do? I thought this would be cool. I was thinking about doing a book with Commune, actually, not with me, but I wanted to be more of like a coffee table book, photo driven. I don't know. I saw this. You know what? I might have it actually. Let me see. I might have this thing to show you guys. I had this idea that I never acted on. Okay, let me see if it's in here. Okay, so we made this little Sovereign Trip mag. Shoot, it's going to be in the first one, and I don't have the first one anymore. Dang. Okay, so Alex shot a photo. Now I'm gonna botch it without showing you this photo. Okay, the idea I had, I want to do really cool images, like almost like building a coffee table book for like an artist, and have like a Warren Buffett quote that's like over a photo that like you would never see a Warren Buffett quote on. You know, like really bring like beauty and finance together. I actually want to do a book for, or even like these magazines. I do want to do this. Like, I wanted to do these as our annual reporting, right? Like every year we do our audited financials that go out to our investors, and I wanted to do done like this, right? Like, do it like a little zine and have like, you know, images of the property shot really cool, having like the financials and everything. I always thought that'd be a cool idea. I'm blowing it. Maybe this is it. Maybe I just got to launch this. There's a lot to do. Not enough time. That means I need to build a bigger team. All right. How long has it been since you've seen Rob? I saw Rob. When was the last time I saw Rob? I talked to him about 2 months ago. I haven't seen him in probably 9 months, I'd say. I talked to him a lot. I I talk to him a good amount. And then I see Love the Zine idea. Wouldn't that be cool? Rob's been a part of my life now for 26, 36, 25 years. That's how long Rob's been a part of my life. He's been phenomenal. He's been such a good mentor for me. And he has always been, he's always been like borderline brilliant, actually. Like, I've always been blown away with him. I've always felt like since I've been a kid, I feel like he keeps setting the bar and I keep trying to chase it. And he leveled up the bar this time. So, but he's awesome. He's so good. This sounds awesome. I've been a photographer for almost a decade now and just made my first book, In Love with the Process. I love that. I'll show you in person when we get a chance to meet. I love that. Angela99, In Love with the Process. Phenomenal. Really good. All right, I've got about 10 minutes until I'm going to take off. We're going to do, I got this pizza oven. The company's called Gooseney, I think. It's phenomenal. It's the sickest thing. We've been making pizzas once a week. We're going to make pizzas tonight. The setup is so sick. So I've got to go home, make pizzas for the family. So I've got about, let's call it 15 minutes. How do you feel about real estate investments in parts of the Midwest, specifically Cleveland, Ohio? I have friends who are getting stuff for dirt cheap, and the returns are incredible. Corey, we just sold a property in Cleveland, right outside of Cleveland. Richmond Heights was the city, and we did well with it. We own a storage property out in Ohio as well. I like the Ohio market. I think because I like a market doesn't mean an investment's going to work, right? You got to be mindful of that. But I'll tell you some of the things that we have to see to want to make an investment somewhere. And then I'll tell you about basically what I'm seeing coming. Maybe it'll spark investment opportunities or investment ideas for anybody watching. So first and foremost, we want to see good major employers, and we want to see some diversification in those employers. We want to make sure that when there's a downturn, there's some covering from impact of job loss, so that you're not seeing this massive amount of vacancy through a downturn. So we want to see good, solid major employers, and we want to see diversification in different industry. That's one. We want to see population growth. That's a good sign. You want to see occupancy, I think, high, because that shows that there's demand. It's not oversupplied. We like seeing rent growth throughout the years. Cleveland, though, in some of these markets, there's going to be an opportunity here for anything affordable, right? You're starting to see it with some of these like modular homes. You're seeing people build tiny homes. I'm not totally sold that tiny homes is the play, but what I do think is the opportunity, something affordable. You can't have inflation doing what it's doing and have our income not grow at the same rate, and what real estate's doing, you're making it. The opportunity is affordability, right? So markets like Ohio, I think there's opportunity for that. So I like it there. What you need to be mindful of is doesn't mean every asset's going to work. It doesn't mean every asset class is going to work. I think multifamily, there's a strong argument for it. The modular housing, we haven't done anything with it yet. I think that's going to be a pretty cool opportunity, though. The Ohio, we made a good amount of money on our last Ohio project. We bought the Richmond Town City or Center Mall, and we were going to scrape it and build a ton of apartments on it. We ended up getting it entitled, and then we ended up selling the paper or selling our interest out of it. We did well with it, but I like Ohio. I think it's a solid market. What do you think of the idea of rental properties, Airbnbs, vacation homes? Do you think Airbnbs are here to stay? People don't like when I say this. I do have friends that invest in Airbnbs. I am not bullish on Airbnb. I'm not. Okay. I'm going to put all my thoughts together here. There's a lot of, I think there's a lot of risk with Airbnb. I think there's a lot that still needs to get worked out. And there's a part of me that doesn't like that anyone can, the accessibility or barrier to entry into Airbnb is very low. The reason why all of this scares me, barrier to entry, like let's say somebody wants to go buy like a 100-unit apartment, right? A 100-unit apartment in California, you're talking a $70 million apartment, right? Like not everybody can just go buy a $70 million apartment. Make it smaller than that. Make it a 12-unit apartment, right? California, that's going to be, what, $2 million, maybe even $3 million. Not everybody can go buy a $3 million apartment, right? But most people can go out and buy a $200,000, $300,000 home and turn it into an Airbnb, right? Part of that is cool. Like having low barrier to entry means more people get to participate. But the thing that scares me from an investor is that means you get a lot of people investing that are uneducated. And when people are uneducated, they buy things they shouldn't and they drive prices up beyond what they should. That's scary that's scary for an asset class. That means you have the potential of seeing a bubble and prices run out. And, considering you can control your emotion, it's going to be very difficult to compete with people that don't know what they're doing, right? If, let's keep the math simple, right? You know that you can't spend $1 more than 200K, right? Just use the example. You can't spend $1 more than 200K. You know that. And you know anything over than that, your margins are not worth the return. And you've got two people that have no clue what's going on going, how about 210? How about 220? And then they land on like 250. You're like, how do you compete with inexperience? You can't. So I think that's a challenge. I think there's political risk. The political risk of cities adding taxes onto Airbnbs or even just outlawing it. I think there's a huge risk there. When it comes to downturns, right? We don't know how these things are going to perform during downturns. I know people say, yes, we do because of 2020. To me, 2020 was not a downturn. That was something very, very different. How are Airbnbs going to perform when the economy gets bad? Well, how does hospitality perform? Do we travel as much when the economy takes a turn? We don't. And so if that happens, I don't believe that most people who bought Airbnbs underwrote the project or ran the numbers to find out how they perform at discounted rents and increased vacancy. I don't think they did that. And so I think you're going to start seeing a lot of projects go negative cash flow. On top of that, you're paying 30% for a property manager. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely insane. 30%. We pay like 5% for ours, 4%. And then the other thing is, a lot of people sell real estate as a passive investment. It's not. Even with a property manager, not a passive investment. Work goes into it. And I think a lot of people are like exhausted with how hard they have to work for these things. And now in a lot of areas, they're not producing a return. So I am not bullish on Airbnbs. I know like every time I say that, I get eaten up and people like, I make money. I'm not saying you don't, and I'm not saying you can't. I'm just kind of telling you why I don't like investing into it. It seems like there's too many risk. There's too much risk right now for that asset class. And then the other thing, like I want to do things at scale. Like this was a big factor why I went into commercial and not into residential. I liked the idea of buying a 50-unit apartment versus having to negotiate 50 individual purchases and get financing for 50 individual homes and have a property manager for 50 individual. That seemed like a logistical nightmare for me. So those are the reasons why I stay away from it. Again, though, that's just me. That doesn't mean that's what you need to do. I do have a lot of friends in Airbnb that's making a lot of money. So consider that one. What are your thoughts on home insurance companies not covering select cities? Yeah, it's happening in California too. I think like in California, we had a after the Northridge earthquake, it was a big earthquake we had a lot of companies that wouldn't do earthquake insurance. And what you saw was like basically state programs. You're probably going to see something similar to that, I think. Are you or have you met Andrew Huber? I haven't met him yet. JD Moore, I haven't met Andrew. One of my close friends does his podcast with him, but I haven't met him yet. I think he's great. I think he's so good. Have you been looking for a market to wholesale in? Do you invest in any states other than Ohio? Looking for single family mostly, but open to multifamily. Okay, we don't do any wholesaling. For our multifamily portfolio, we don't own anything out of California now. Our storage portfolio, we own a lot out of California. Multifamily right now, though, we're not looking in any other states other than California. We are all in on California right now. In our perspective, we see such a big opportunity that we're going after it. And I'm not sure we're going to have the bandwidth to even do anything outside of California with what I think. I think there's so much opportunity here that I don't know if we're going to be able to look outside. Storage is a different case. Our strategy for storage doesn't necessarily work in California. We have one property here. It's been phenomenal, but our typical strategy for storage is repurposing big box retail. So Walmarts, Kmart's, Bed Bath & Beyonds that go vacant, we basically come in, scrape the inside, fill them with storage units. That doesn't work so well in California, but multifamily, we see the opportunity being multifamily here. Any creative thoughts on how to get a return on historical properties? Yeah, that, no, I haven't. I think the historical stuff is awesome, though. It's so cool. I haven't given it much thought, though, on how you can see, an outsized return on it. That's a cool thought, though. That's an interesting one. All right, I got 5 minutes. Let's try to get one last one. State Farm cut the whole program for new applicants. I know. Best advice to get into storage investments. Okay, I'm going to give you advice on just the best way to get into any asset class. You've got 3 options. Your first option is for you to be an active investor. This means you're going to go out, you're going to work with the brokers or go direct to the owner and try to get a project under contract. From there, you're going to do your due diligence. You're going to get the last 12 months of the rent roll. You're going to run all the numbers. You're going to figure out if this is a good investment, right? From there, you're going to have to lock down the financing, and then you're going to have to manage the property or get a property manager to manage it. All of that is going to take education. You're going to have to know how to do that. I mean, even the first step of underwriting a project, you need to know how to underwrite a project to even know if it's a good investment or not. And so you're going to have to learn. I think the best platform for real estate education is probably BiggerPockets, biggerpockets.com. They're phenomenal. That's one way. The other way, you invest passively. You invest with people who are storage operators or groups that invest in storage. This is what we do. And we go out and basically raise money from investors who want to own real estate that don't want to do the work. So you can be a passive investor in storage, or you can do what I did. I did like a hybrid, actually. I invested passively, and I invested in a group that did a really good job kind of educating the investors along the way. And I learned passively and then got to a point where I felt like I could do it actively. So I think that's a good option as well. Or partner with people. So I guess there's 4. Partner with somebody who has experience doing storage, and maybe you have a skill set that complements what they're doing, right? When you go into real estate, it's very similar to small business, right? You need somebody who's good at operations. You need an attorney. You need somebody who's good with numbers. You need somebody on the sales side. And you can kind of get away with that group. And so if you're a people person, you're on the sales side, you like networking, relationships, maybe you're the one who raises capital. And so you can take a position, an equity position in the general partnership to go out and basically be that role. If you're an operator, maybe that's what you do there, et cetera, et cetera. So there's ways to create partnerships by offering a skill or talent that you have that your partners don't, so that you all collectively make up the team that's going to go out and do storage. Later, bro. Can't wait to skateboard with you and talk. Saptrav, have a phenomenal day. What's Tawny's email again? Trying to understand your company's buy box. Okay, I'm going to take off, but here it is. It's Tawny, Tawny, at communecapital.com. COMMUNE capital.com. All right, everybody, have a phenomenal Wednesday. I'm around tomorrow, so I'll jump on live. I will